Chapter 16. King of Clubs. Catherine woke alone. The apartment was quiet. No email, no summons. She thought of Carmilla and hoped she was well. Then the notification pinged. Chartry at 9:30. Gabrinth answered the knock on his door. Maleva looked up at him and took him by the shoulders, pulling him down to her level. She kissed his forehead. I caution you against running alone until you are stronger. There are more dangers out there than you know. She looked down shyly. I just wanted you to know that you are my first progeny. She took off running, and Gabrinth followed her. Abigail visited Darth before heading out of town on business. We Bruja are rough around the edges, and we fight the beast within. But you always had to do that anyway. You're better prepared than most of these bloodsuckers. She turned to go. A low profile is better than no profile. Ada came to Angel at his workstation, placed both hands on his shoulders, and spoke quietly in his ear. I am hearing good things about you. The Camarilla is impressed. She straightened. Benton is a great ally. Use him. Some of us are more reliable than others. Then she was gone. Susie called from the moorage. She needed fabric supplies from Fabmo and didn't want to go alone. Angel, Catherine, and Darth agreed to come. Gabrinth didn't answer his phone. Henri drove them over. They knew the place would be closed and carefully broke in, found everything Susie needed. She left $50 on the counter on the way out. The coterie met Chartry at the Scientology Center. She kept the briefing short. The vampires recovered from the pits had confirmed what the coterie already suspected. The anti-tribu had been running a network of blood-bound ghouls sent out to capture fledglings for the fights. The operation was gone now, but a new problem was growing. Blood-drained bodies were still turning up across the Bay Area, not just in Mountain View, and the Camarilla was struggling to keep pace. We need people like you finding the cause and stopping it, she said. Start at the King of Clubs. Angel arrived at the King of Clubs, looking exactly like Hunter Moore. Susie glared at him. Angel changed his face into something more forgettable and retreated to the shadows. Amanda found Catherine almost immediately and rushed toward her. Someone had broken into the Aruna Spa and made off with Botox and Rejuviderm. Thank God they left the Vitae, she said. Those idiots had no idea what was actually valuable. I don't know if I'll be able to get more. I'll see what I can do, Catherine assured her. Jean was where she usually was, just outside the main entrance with her clove cigarette, watching. Catherine approached and asked what she knew about the pit fights. Did you have fun? Jean said. Good. That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She drew on her cigarette. I'm just a liaison, a procurer. She studied Catherine for a moment. What are you looking for? Catherine asked about Cindy and Nate. Jean led Catherine away from the entrance. They showed up a few months ago, thinking the scene was an opportunity. Loud, reckless, zero discretion. They want blood sports. They want connection. They want to matter. Her voice lowered. They've been name-dropping people who don't want to be dropped. They are threatening my work, and they have no idea. She dropped the cigarette and crushed it under her boot. I hope someone decides to make them disappear soon. Jean turned and went inside the club. Before Catherine made it to the door, she ran into Cindy and Nate coming in from the parking lot. She gave them an up nod and followed them inside. They were twitchy, manic, and talkative. Jean's useless, Cindy said, leaning in close. She acts like she's the only one who knows anything. We know more. We'll tell you everything. Who's running what, who's buying, who's selling, where the real action is. She folded her arms. Nate bobbed in agreement beside her. For a price. We're more useful than she'll ever be, and she knows it. That's why she hates us. Nate chimed in, still bobbing. We're ready for whatever you need. Blood sports, information, whatever moves things forward. He scratched his neck. Just say the word. Prove it, Catherine said. If you know as much as you say, give me something worth paying for. Cindy folded her arms and said nothing, which was the smarter move. Nate couldn't help himself. The pit fighters? He leaned in, excited to finally say it out loud. Real vampires. Not government experiments, not genetic modifications. Actual vampires. And it's not just the pits. People are being killed all over the Bay Area, drained completely, and the government is covering it up. Cindy closed her eyes for just a moment. Catherine was impressed. She looked steadily into their eyes. That is worth something, she said. Let's step outside, more private. They went willingly. Of course they did. In the small, dark space between the club and an abandoned auto shop, Catherine dealt with them both. She called Holloway to collect the bodies and returned to the club. Darth was approached by a large man in biker gear who recognized him from the rooms. Lycos, friend of Bill W., sober and wired on adrenaline. Angel lurked within earshot. Lycos leaned in close. You're a chemist, right? Any chance you could get me colloidal liquid silver by the gallon? You get me a price and I'll let you in on a little secret. We'll have a great time. He pressed his number into Darth's hand and disappeared into the crowd. Angel texted Benton. The reply came back quickly. Silver does nothing to vampires. It does, however, harm werewolves. Darth looked at the number in his hand and slid it into his pocket. Catherine gathered the group, and they returned to the Scientology Center in time for the meeting with Chartree. Chartree was waiting with 2 vampires in custody. Gabranth exhaled quietly when he saw them. Neither one was the cute girl from the pits. One was Elizabeth Mello from the office bar, who was no longer pregnant. The other was a thin blood retrieved from the fighting operation. Chartree called for their execution. They pleaded for their lives, and the thin blood looked directly at Gabranth. What are you going to do, she said, when they tell you to kill the pretty one you're so keen on? Gabranth paused for a moment. Then he bared his fangs, drew his claws, and like Catherine, Darth, and Susie, he did what he was told.